1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Oh boy, this is a trick. I just opened my email and poor Tom, the subject matter is I am sick as a dog. See you next week. Sorry. Oh boy. Hello. It's Halloween.
Woo.
I can't see a thing through this stupid mask.
I know.
Why is that? Why does it so... It just
are bigger.
It doesn't...
These are smaller.
Jess, come here. I want people to see you. No, wait, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were taking something. Look what my producer looks like today. Come on in. Sit down. Sit down. Get your head from out so you're not shining. Here, get closer. Does that look good or what? Is that going to be your costume? You're a little pussycat? Or you're not? That's just your...
today.
That's your today costume?
Yeah.
It's very good.
Thank you.
Did you have that on the bus?
Yeah. I got some strange looks.
I bet there was there was one person on the bus with me, and she was scary looking. She was dressed like a scary looking leather-clad biker kind of scary person. And she looked it.
maybe
I wasn't sure. I really wasn't sure. I thought, I really hope that that's a Halloween costume because you are really scary. Well, little putty tat. Yeah, great. It's great. Excuse me. So, guys, it's just you and me. Oh, Tom. Get well. Sick as a dog. Did you eat at the Porch? Did you hear about that?
No, in Oakland.
Yeah. The Porch, which is everybody just loves the Porch, except me. I'm the only person I know who doesn't like it. I have not enjoyed any meal I've had there. I've enjoyed the company, but I have not enjoyed my food. But most people really love it. And this is that restaurant in Schenley Plaza that actually is owned by Eaton Park, but it's not in Eaton Park. And it's closed for the moment because I think the count is 5 either employees and or customers have become violently ill with some kind of foodborne illness. Health department's on it. The Porch is totally cooperating. I guess they're washing the place down from inside out and taking getting rid of all food that was there. I don't know. Yiko. So I'm getting a T-shirt that says, I survived the Porch. That's what I'm going to do. So, guys, I have to tell you, this has been happening a lot lately since I'm having this totally viscerally, extraordinarily negative reaction to the news of the day. So I can't find anything to talk about in the papers because everything I see, I react with such revulsion to that I don't want to talk about it. There's either, a level of disgust, frustration, or this or that. I mean, you name it, it's some kind of a negative reaction. And I'm sure that doesn't make me any different than the rest of you. But some of you might have a greater tolerance than I do for talking about it. I mean, we can talk till we're blue in the face. Until there's action, talk doesn't do a damn thing. Especially when we're talking amongst ourselves, you know, in this little closed circle of angry, frustrated folks. What's wrong with my voice today? Anyway, so as I was exiting my home, I said to my cats, who appeared to be very interested in what I was saying, I said, boy, I hope Tom is in a really talkative mood today, because it's going to be one of those shows. He's not. He's sick as a dog. Tom, get well. Get well, buddy. Yeah. So I got in late, as it were, to miss my bus. Got on the next one. And so here I am. I'm just going to catch up on some of your emails. Colette writes, and Jared, Professor Day from CMU, who was my guest yesterday, you will like this. Colette writes, I really enjoyed your discussion with Professor Day. The hour flew by. Well, that's really great, because I'm thinking of we're trying to figure out if we can work something out where he might come on once a month and talk, because he really is somebody who follows news more than most. But more than that, he has this grounding in history. You know, not Renaissance history, but history of the last 150 years, American. So he has it's very interesting to bounce things off of and around in his head, because history is a real important thing to know. I mean, there's the old saw, right? Those that do not know, I don't know exactly, are condemned to repeat it. And it's so true, because you see humanity constantly repeating and repeating and repeating. And I suspect it's two things. It is a lack of memory. It is arrogance that somehow we are different than they were back then, maybe. Or it's human nature. Maybe it's all of the above. It's not either or. So anyway, happy Halloween. I did hear myself say yesterday, it was very sort of quick and nobody picked up on it, but I felt bad about it later. I said, I hate Halloween. I did say that. Did you hear me say that?
No.
Yeah, I know. Jess would be very upset. Jess embraces all holidays with great vigor. She lives to celebrate holidays. I don't. I mean, the holidays that are important to me are not the ones I love most are the ones that bring family together and lots of food. Those are my holidays. So I love Thanksgiving and I love Passover. And after that, you can pretty much have them. I mean, there's some that definitely have meaning, especially some of the more religious ones, even though I do not consider myself religious at all. But they resonate with me because, as a child, you know, it's interesting how you can sort of not be part of a religion and yet be very much a part of a religion all at the same time. And some people, like me, manage to pull that off. I mean, we would not stand up to any scrutiny about why we consider ourselves a member of this religion, if in fact we do not really practice it. But maybe that's easier to do as a Jew. I don't know, simply because Jews are not, no one can figure out what Jews are, including Jews. And I know whatever I say, there'll be Jews who will be like, you know, off with their head. I mean, it's more than a religion. There's something. So you can say the religion part. I mean, it's very nice. You know, some of the prayers, like, you know, they're really meaningful to me. But I don't. frankly, believe in God. So at that point, it becomes difficult to practice a religion. But there's a tribal feel to being a Jew. I mean, most Israelis are not religious. Do you know that? Oh, heck. I've never met more non-religious Jews than Israelis. It seems like Israelis come in two flavors mostly. Totally religious in what I consider an almost demented manner, or secular. Just secular. So, and there's obviously some in between, but mostly it's that. And what am I talking about this for? Oh, because I said I like. Oh, never mind. Listen, it's going to be one of those shows because I don't have a lot. Here, by the way, according to the Wall Street Journal, are the 10 favorite holiday treats. This is according to kids. What they want to get when they come to your house. So let's hope this is what you're handing out. Number 1 is Reese. Do you say Reese's or Reese's? Yeah.
Reese's.
But that can be, you say Reese's?
Yeah.
Why would that be, though? Okay, Reese's, what is that? The cups or the peanut butter cups or the pieces? That's something different. All of the above. Reese's, number 1. And followed by M&M's, Snickers, Hershey's, Kit Kat, Twix, Three Musketeers, Hershey's Cookies and Cream, Milky Way, and Almond Joy. That's the top 10. I can quibble with some of that, but I'd eat them all. And in fact, I did buy my Halloween candy late afternoon yesterday. I have not thus far, but I'm very worried. I'm very worried there's too much of it. And I hope I don't. That I'm capable of exercising just a slight measure of control. So yesterday when I left here, I'm on the bus, and I'm doing what most people on the bus do, which I used to excoriate. I've got my head down in my iPhone, and in fact, I'm playing Scrabble with a friend. And the bus stops at the next stop, and I'm still engrossed, but I hear, as the door opens, I hear like sounds of something going on, which did get my attention, and I popped my head up, and there, right at the bus stop, in front of UPMC, or what I still call the U.S. Steel building, there was a demonstration. And there were a lot of people, and they're holding signs, and there was a guy giving a speech, and it was not very fervent at the few moments that I was on the bus, but I was looking at the scene, and what caught my eye was not the protesters so much as there were 3 guys watching the protesters. The protesters were on the sidewalk, and then at the sidewalk there are like maybe about 8 steps up to where the building sits. And on the top of those steps, there are these 3 guys. 2 of them were in suits. Their combined weight, I would put at 700 pounds. I am not kidding you. They were humongous. One so looked the part of the security guy. He had, a shaved head. He was this massive, unbelievable, unsmiling, both just sitting there staring at these protesters. There was no doubt that they were muscle and they were to be intimidating and watchful. Then there was a third guy who did not have a suit on, but he was almost as large, and he was more menacing because he was sort of moving around and really watching. And some woman walked up about 3 steps, and I think she had a camera, and she was trying to, like, take a picture or something, and he goes after her. Screaming. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. You can't walk up some steps and take a picture. What is that about? It really looked, and she, believe me, he was scary. I myself would not have backed down because I would feel I had every right to be there. I've stood on those steps before. The fact that I had a camera, it was a middle-aged woman. And he scared her right off him. And then my bus left. So that was the little snapshot I saw in about a 25-second period. And there was the face of UPMC. There was UPMC again. Winning friends and influencing people, as only it knows how to do. So I couldn't figure what that was going on there and what the particularly was being protested, since there's so many possibilities. And then today's paper explained it. Here's a picture of some of the women that I saw out there, and it did seem to be mostly women. And who I saw out there, it turns out, were people who, get this, used to be employees of UPMC, which of course has no employees. So these were medical transcriptionists. And they were protesting because UPMC has apparently gotten rid of their jobs and has outsourced what they do. So all of those women were unemployed, I guess, now. Formerly employed by UPMC, and they were protesting that. It's tough. They looked like a bunch of middle-aged women. They had been making over $16 an hour. And now, try to find a job as a middle-aged woman that's going to pay you that with a specific skill if UPMC ain't going to hire you. I don't know. Well, I feel for them. And not only were they terminated, but they were menaced yesterday by those scary-looking men. Ugh. So, oh my God, there was the most gruesome thing I saw on my iPhone right before I came in. And normally I don't share this kind of news because it's not like highbrow kind of news that we dabble in. However, I have to tell you. So there's this soccer player in Brazil, and he didn't come home last night. His wife was obviously concerned. When she left for work, maybe this was the night before, she left for work this morning. She opened her front door, and his head.
No.
Yes. Trick or treat. His head was on her doorstep. Jeez. You know, what people are capable of is so mind-boggling. Yeah, I know. You read something like that and you can't even. So, well, that was it. That's all I had. And then I thought Sokolowski would say something. No, I really do. I've got more. Anything you want to say, feel free. You can email me at Lynn at pghcitypaper.com. You can call at 412-316-3381. And I think what I'll do is let me take my break because I want to try to retrieve during it some items that I sent myself. And since my computer's so slow, I'd like to have a little bit of a head start on you as I retrieve them. But we'll be back in just a moment.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Download the CP Haps app to find out what's happening in Pittsburgh. It's the fun and free app that puts the most popular events at your fingertips. Text events to 77948 to download now. Available on the App Store and Google Play. Brought to you by Pittsburgh City Paper.
Go to the all-new bergbargains.com for great deals on gift cards from your favorite local restaurants, bars, museums, attractions, and shows. Log on now for great deals from Best of Pittsburgh 2013 winners and the Pittsburgh Symphony. Plus, sign up for the weekly email for your chance to win $100 in services from the Swickley Spa. The all-new bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains, bergbargains.com.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
So, not wanting to offend some of you more lefties in my audience who loved Hugo Chavez and thinks Venezuela is a socialist paradise, I just have to tell you this one. Venezuela has introduced a new department within the government, and it is called, seriously, and sort of perfect for Halloween, I think, because it's scary, the Ministry of Supreme Social Happiness.
Ew.
Isn't that scary? Isn't that 1984-ish beyond belief? The Ministry of Supreme Social Happiness. And this was announced after the government also said that there was going to be a new holiday added to the Venezuelan calendar, which also has a dear leader, why am I blanking on what you call that? The adoration of der leader. They're adding a holiday in Venezuela, which is called Loyalty and Love to Hugo Chavez Day. I mean, how anybody with a sense of freedom and the value of freedom doesn't cringe at these kinds of... Seriously, guys, come on. And Venezuela, as I think you probably know, they've got all that oil, yet they have this unbelievable murder rate. Their economy is ravaged. It has the worst inflation rate in the Western Hemisphere. I believe that's the proper geographic area. And even though it has all this oil, they have constant blackouts where the majority of people have no electricity. And so when they came out with the Ministry of Supreme Happiness, or whatever it is called, a lot of people in Venezuela immediately started on the internet making fun. One saying, "Oh, the Ministry of Supreme Happiness, are they going to be giving us drugs or something?" So another Venezuelan comedian said, "It's only been 24 hours since the creation of the Ministry of Supreme Social Happiness, and already I am feeling happy." Who should be in charge of the ministry? Lady Gaga? Jim Carrey? None of these are very funny. And others have said this holds Venezuela up to international ridicule. Well, certainly, I mean, I'm quite willing to ridicule it. The Ministry of Supreme Social Happiness. That is so, I'm sorry, I'll say it again, Orwellian. Maybe I didn't say Orwellian before I said 1984, but yeah, it is. Yuck. Creepy. Totally. And what else did I find here that I thought? Oh, I was so excited when I heard that someone in his district on the Democratic side was going to challenge the former Republican vice presidential candidate, the guy who's supposed to be, I don't know what, the genius of conservative economic theory in the Capitol, and that is Paul Ryan of Wisconsin. So he is being challenged, and I heard this guy interviewed maybe a month ago on somewhere on the radio, and he sounded very bright, and he had a very interesting backstory. The guy who is challenging Ryan is the son of, I'm not sure what you call a leader of the Sikh religion, is the son of a man who was one of those killed in the Sikh temple massacre south of Milwaukee. And obviously, he is intending, in part, to campaign on the absurdity of the availability of guns in this country. He's 35 years old, and his name is Amardeep Kalika. And he really sounded like a smart guy. I thought, wow, maybe he could, I'm sure no one's given him a chance, pull off an upset, especially the way people are feeling in general about Republicans, even though my understanding is Ryan is very well liked in his district. But I believe his district voted for Obama, I think. But Mother Jones, well, actually, it wasn't Mother Jones. Mother Jones picked up on it. The newspaper in Madison, Wisconsin, the Capital Times, interviewed this guy. And unfortunately, they did their due diligence, or fortunately, prior to the interview, and saw that he is a filmmaker, a documentarian. And they actually, the Capital Times, went looking for what kind of documentaries this guy has made. Well, it turns out he's made one called Sirius, Sirius. And this is a documentary that claims that it has uncovered evidence of extraterrestrial life on Earth and suggests that the 9/11 attack was a false flag operation that is somehow, I guess, connected to the fact that there are extraterrestrials here. So much for that Democratic candidacy. That's odd to me that the guy's a Democrat, but he is. And usually you don't hear of them, and they've got a trailer here. The movie also, there's this trutherism in it, and mention of Bilderbergers and Rockefeller. I mean, this is really bizarre. And according to Mother Jones, so this guy who's going to be taking on Paul Ryan, the surviving son of the man murdered in the Temple massacre, says that his film sort of fits into this sweet spot where the fringes of the left and the fringes of the right often overlap. And we've, many times in the decades we've talked, have noticed that it's, when you look at opinion and where people stand, if you look at it on a line, a straight bar, it doesn't give you the right picture. If you look on it as a curved kind of a bar that does, in fact, come back together, so it becomes a circle, it does turn out that, yes, the extreme left and the extreme right, I guess that's why, like, Tea Partiers can't tell the difference between a communist and a fascist. You know, one is on the extreme left, one is on the extreme right, but to them, they're the same thing. Maybe they got something going there. I don't know. But this guy, the narration says that the Federal Reserve Bank is not managed by the government, is owned by a private banking cartel. And can you imagine? This is the Democrat running against... Well, so that's the choice that the poor folks in southeastern Wisconsin are going to have come 2014. Let's say you really want to throw Ryan out on his big ears. But in order to do so, you gotta vote for a guy who thinks that you're crazy. And by the way, he said something like that. You're crazy. He said any intelligent person who thinks that there are not aliens is nuts. So you got to either vote for that guy, who also is sort of a truther, or keep Paul Ryan. Oh, my God. So, well, one guy suggested, well, what this tells us is that even crazy people want Paul Ryan removed from office and are willing to put themselves out there as a possible alternative. Oh, dear. Oops. So, Boston won the World Series. Hope those guys cut those disgusting beards off. Jeez. Yeah, they did. Bummer. Susan gave up in the 7th inning, went to bed. I didn't blame her. I said, I'd say it's over too, but won't it be fun if we wake up and they'll have won? Well, of course, that's not the case. Joseph writes, Happy Halloween. Well, thank you. I don't know why I have such... I've railed in the past about how it used to just be a kid's holiday, and now it just seems like it shows how Americans can't grow up. In regard to history, those who don't know it are condemned to repeat it. PJ suggests a different quote about history. This from Mark Twain. He thinks it more poetic and accurate. Twain said, history does not repeat itself. History rhymes. Huh.
Ooh.
Well, isn't that sort of interesting?
Yeah.
So it doesn't specifically repeat itself, but, oh, that's great. But it rhymes. I never heard that. Oh, Twain. I got the hots for him. There's so many dead men I have the hots for. It's unbelievable. And he is definitely one. As my mother would quickly say, he probably comes up to here on you. Always, yeah. Mom, thanks a lot. Always. Oh, Paul Newman. He's 5'7".
But he...
Oh, it's so gorgeous. Who cares? Like, I care?
His eyes.
Oh. All right, Chuck. Chuck writes, I know, Lynn, that you are as annoyed as we all are regarding this Obamacare craziness. Hey, by the way, no, one of the reasons I'm not talking about that is I am alarmed. I'm not annoyed. I am alarmed at how badly this rollout has been going. I'm alarmed. And part of the reason I'm not talking about it is like I'm somewhat dumbfounded by how flat-footed and clueless and badly done this is. Now, I know it's a huge change, but good God. I mean, it's like throwing lobs at the Republicans. I mean, anyone can hit this stuff out of the park. I mean, just again, the failure to sufficiently explain it to people and calm them and explain and don't worry and this is how it's going to work. And if in fact things were overstated a little bit in the selling of it, like the president intoning on more than one occasion that you'll be able to keep your health plan, well, that turns out not to be true for some people. Granted, percentage-wise, not a lot. But percentage-wise, in a country of our size, is still tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people who get letters from their insurance company saying this is being discontinued. Well, there's panic. They don't understand what's going on. Now, if you say it's because you're going to get something better for less, that's still not true. Because for some of those people, they are going to pay more when they were perfectly happy with the substandard plan they had. So there's been a failure of clarity. I understand this is so damn complicated, and it's complicated because of our politics. Because you can't get a measure like this passed unless there's a million people throwing their crap in it. The lobbyists, this, no, you can't do that. If you do that, then you have to do this. And you end up with a Rube Goldberg machine. As opposed to just taking what a million other countries have. There are so many templates out there that work. Canada, Britain, Scandinavia, France. Just take one of those. They work. But no, we had to do it our way, which is create a Rube Goldberg contraption. And that it's not working quite right is... It's a given. No, I haven't been talking about it because I am upset. And I'm upset that the president, who I adore, is being himself by just sort of being, that cool, aloof guy. He's driving me crazy. I don't know. I'm very upset. That's why I don't talk about it, see? Because, why should I? Because then I get upset. Oh, anyway, back to Chuck, who brought this up. Chuck writes, as a fan of the president and the Affordable Care Act, I just have to say, Obama traveled to Massachusetts yesterday, the home of Romney Care, to make his case to the American people. His speech was flat and without the necessary emotion that I felt he needed in this case. I wanted him to come across pissed off. Is he not capable? Well, so we're on the same page here, Chuck. Is he not capable of at least as much emotion, as we see from the Republicans every single day? I grow so weary of so many congressional hearings, such as the one yesterday with Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius. We waste so much time investigating ourselves and why these hearings are nothing more than modern-day lynchings. Oh, it's not lynchings. They're akin to parading people around for humiliation. There was this picture in one of the papers I saw today of Sebelius sitting at the, table in the hearing. And I guess it's right before the hearing starts. So she's sitting there. And the picture is taken facing her. So you see the entire table and then you see her. But on the other side of the table is has to be 20 or 30 photographers. And so she's sitting, and that's what she's seeing. This just unbelievable bunch of photographers who are snapping pictures in her face. And I was thinking, what would it feel like to sit there? How would you look? You know how if you know your picture's being taken and it's maybe supposed to be a candid, but somebody's around and you see the picture, the camera's maybe pointing in your direction, and you just try to settle your face into something that doesn't look crazy, or decide how you want to appear. How would you even look? You can't look forward because you're looking into this. I don't know. It's all about humiliation. It's certainly not about information gathering, right? So it's about humiliating her. And frankly, I don't care about that right now. I mean, she did oversee this disastrous rollout. I'm sorry. And when the dust settles and everybody figures out what really went wrong, I will be very curious as to know where the blame really lies. And I just hope that somehow this Goldberg machine will, wheeze its way into some measure of function, and people will be signing up and getting their insurance, and that a year from now, this will be a very distant memory, and people will be so thrilled with their lower premiums and their better access and, better policies that all of this is, but wow. You can't do much worse than this rollout. You can't. And I'm just waiting for what comes down the pike next. So they get the website up and running, what we find out. Because it's a system that is practically was at birth created not to work. Because that's the only kind of thing you can get through the wheeling, dealing, lobby-saturated Congress of the United States of America. It's the best we could do. It's the best. Says something about us, too. Okay. Well, Chuck, you managed to get me to talk about that which I did not want to. You want scary? Yeah, somebody should go, how do you dress up as the Affordable Care Act?
Someone I know is.
Oh, you really?
Yeah.
So how are they doing it?
Dressing up as different components of the shutdown.
Dressing up as different components of the shutdown.
Yeah. She tried to explain.
But it was too, wow. Man, wow. I suppose that, I wish her luck. Mm-hmm. How's about we take a break? We'll be right back.
More with Lynn Cullen live after this.
Come to Little's for all of your back-to-school needs. Little's has everything for all ages to stay in style for this upcoming school season. Check out the large selection from Doc Marten, Steve Madden, UGG, Clarks, Lely Kelly, New Balance, and much, much more. Don't forget to come visit this season's colorful handbag selection as well. Little Shoes, Pittsburgh's largest family shoe store, 5850 Forbes Avenue in Squirrel Hill.
Check out my new time machine.
Does it work?
Hit the button.
Hey, it's Napoleon.
Oui. Check out the future.
Hey, you have a nice house. Why don't I?
You didn't save any money, buddy.
If only there was a way I could go back in time and fix that.
Yeah.
Save something for the future. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Les Ludwig, your independent, self-financed, clean candidate for mayor of Pittsburgh. You've heard the saying, same old. If we don't change what we're doing, we can only expect the same results. Let's look at what the Democratic Party leadership of your lifetime is asking you to do on Election Day. They want you to forget that they and Ravenstall have not lived up to minority contracts and the jobs involved in it. If government promises work and jobs and wants to leave it for the next candidate, will it ever get done? How can we trust Peduto and especially the leadership when they continue to act this way? Are they hiding something worse than Harper's misdeeds? Vote November 5th and remember, same old. Embrace change and work willingly with it. Think outside the party's box. Make Les Ludwig your mayor and join his march to clean government and keeping promises.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn@pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
Oh, Tom is checked in. So he's capable of some function. Tom writes, even in my current reduced state of health, I am afraid that if they extend the enrollment deadline, only over-the-hill fat men like me will enroll. And, well, yeah, and the healthy young people won't. And thus, in the early months, the numbers will not be in sync, and the system could collapse because it was predicated on the fact that the two types of folks would equal out the numbers. Yeah. Well, Tom, well said for a guy. Well, he ends it with back to the throne without my crown. He's sick. Well, feel better. And yes, I mean, that's one of the things I'm worried about, too. Because you have to admit that when we were talking about the Affordable Care Act, well, I don't mean to include you, but I will admit my ignorance. When we were talking about it, it seemed so complicated that I, for the life of me, really didn't understand it. I knew we were not going to do single payer because it was politically impossible. And I was for anything that moved us forward, that moved us out, that to a certain extent blew up the status quo. But I every time I tried to comprehend this, what was then a bill, it seems so complicated. And then I would see stories about how in the States people were couldn't figure it out. And then the insurance companies couldn't figure it out. And the doctor's offices couldn't figure it out. And all the stakeholders and the people involved and blah, blah, blah. And they're not talking to this one. And I thought, oh, my God, here we go. Disaster. So I don't know. This was to be the signature achievement of Barack Obama. And as Chuck suggested, that he doesn't show more ownership and emotion and leadership. He's so fucking cerebral. I love his head. I love him. But, you know, there are things that he disdains that are in part a measure of what a good leader employs, and that is an ability to reach out to people, talk to them, embrace them, sit them down. You know, look to FDR, look to Ronald Reagan, look to Bill Clinton. There are a lot of people who have held the position who got that part down. Maybe they weren't as smart as you, Barack, but they knew how to sell. And we thought you did. Go ahead, caller.
How you doing?
I'm, as you can tell, I'm working myself up into a
Hey,
lather.
this affordable health care, it's going to help, but I think the problem's going to be kind of like that I have insurance, but I can't afford to use it because when you go to the doctors and that, you got to pay co-pays, you got copay, you go up to the hospital, you get x-rays, you get bills in the mail. That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Is it going to make the people broke? I mean, you have the insurance, but you really can't use it. You watch where you go to the doctors because you can't afford to get the bills in the mail. That's what I just wonder.
Yeah.
Because the simple thing, this whole problem with this whole health care is the hospitals. We have to get the cost down, but nobody addresses that, the cost. We get everybody insurance, it'll be fine. But I don't believe it will be.
No, you're right.
I think the cost of the hospital is killing everybody.
Well, you're right. The whole system is so screwed up. There are so many middlemen who take their little part and up the price of everything. We are the only nation with an insane system like this. And then this crazy patchwork Obamacare thing in an attempt to start to remedy some of the craziness of it. And I don't know. And I hear you. I mean, I know you think you have insurance. I'm so naive, too, that when I got myself on Medicare finally, and when I thought, oh, Medicare, that'll be. And then you find out, I mean, I'm actually paying more in almost every way than I ever was. I mean, there's never a free ride, it seems, in this country unless you're a corporation.
Yes, exactly.
Or a rich person.
And you talk about Medicare. If people don't have that supplemental insurance...
Oh, no. Oh, you can't afford it.
They could wipe you out.
No, you can't afford it. So then you have to have the supplemental insurance, and even that doesn't do it. So with the supplemental and the Medicare, I'm still paying... You can't imagine what I'm paying for my meds. You cannot... Wow. I'm in now the donut hole, where I have to pay something like $4,000 or $5,000 to get out.
My.
I mean, it's beyond belief.
Yeah,
and I've got good insurance.
Jeez.
So,
okay, then.
I hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. We should all just go away and die. I don't know. Russ writes, the hearings remind me of the Salem witch trials. Yeah. No matter what is said, you will still be burned at the stake. And nothing is ever accomplished. Right. It is just it's a public display of rage by those who are enraged, and humiliation by those whose job it is in the hearing to be humiliated, which is what Sebelius was there for yesterday. Oh, boy. All right. So here was I had wanted to talk to Tom about this. Tom! I'd wanted to talk to you about this, but it's just me. And I've discussed this before. This is disquieting to me in many ways. The death of liberal arts education, the death of the humanities, which used to be what was considered higher education. Higher education was knowing literature and philosophy and the arts and language and history. That was the mark of an educated man. And increasingly, students aren't even signing up for these classes. I mean, they're not, and they're not required either. So the New York Times today just focused on what's going on at one of our greater universities, Stanford, without a doubt one of the greater universities. And at Stanford, they got a huge humanities department still. A lot of tenured professors pulling down big bucks, teaching, French and literature and philosophy and blah, 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 blah. And in fact, the humanities, almost half of the professors at Stanford teach in that realm. 45% of all the professors at Stanford University are in the main undergraduate division and clustered in considered the humanities. But there's another number that I got to throw in there. So 45% of the professors, undergraduate professors, are in the humanities. 15% of the students are taking those classes. Well, that doesn't make any sense now, does it? not economically, not even to serving what the students apparently want. And so colleges have turned into sort of vocational schools. They are not what we used to think of them as. I mean, I know when I went, certainly, it was not about getting a job. It was about enriching my mind. Oh, how silly. But that is what it was about. And the New York Times article points specifically to a local story here, Edinburgh University, which just a few weeks ago, I believe, announced that it was closing its German department, its philosophy department, its world languages and culture department. Oh!
The computer restarted itself, sorry.
Oh, it did?
I forgot to turn this out.
That's okay. Up! Scary! Also, Harvard's had a 20% decline in humanities in the last 10 majors in the last 10. I mean, I don't know. So is it conceivable that in 15 years there won't be anybody or hardly anybody teaching any of these things, and that as such we'll enter a new kind of dark age? I mean, after all, what were those dark ages? Those dark ages were when the combined wisdom of the world at that point was sort of held in a very few hands. Very few hands, but most of the people did not have access to it. It was not, thank God for the few hands that held it. Are we entering that kind of a world again? And I think this sort of like demise, the diminution, the exit of, and the sense of the unimportance of the combined artistic output and knowledge of humankind, that this is like a frightening thing. So we'll all be technocrats. And because that's where we're heading. It's all going to be technology, and that is all that will be valued. Numbers, science, analytics, statistics, and anything that's in that other realm. I don't know where people who are even interested in it are going to be educated. I guess they can access on the internet before all these old professors, are put out to pasture and die and certainly are not replaced. Maybe they can, again, they'll put everything out there so that it's accessible to people, but it will not be valued. It's already not valued. And you have to ask what happens when the accumulated wisdom, not science and math, but the accumulated wisdom of all that other stuff is not valued. What kind of a culture do you have? What kind of a world? What kind of people does that produce? I think that's scary too. So there's another Halloween costume. You could go as a dying humanities department. I don't know. There's a lot of scary stuff. I mean, clearly we are careening into a future is unknowable and is going to be very, very different from anything we knew. And maybe it's always been that way, but it seems more so now because the pace of change is so rapid, and the power of media through technology is so. I'm sorry, this damn computer is keeping me from getting to you to get to your emails. I'm trying to wind it up by getting everything in here. Here we go. Close. Ansel writes, to me, these hearings are nothing more than a collection of cleverly crafted sound bites, which will then be used in the avalanche of television ads coming our way at this time next year. The House members, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, use these hearings as a soapbox, and rarely is there a constructive question uttered. This just could not be what our founding fathers had in mind. Oh, if they could only see us now. You know, I fantasize about that all the time. I do. They can't. We're on our own. No founding fathers. Thank God they can't see us. I mean, why would they, and they had their own problems. They didn't, I mean, I guess to be in the present is always to be concerned. Right. And is always to be, what the hell?
Gosh, this computer is
Your computer's freaking out?
It's not mine, it's the studio computer.
Yeah, it's like goblins. I like you as a cat. I think you should wear this every day.
I told you I think I was a cat in my previous.
You were a cat. I feel like I'm a cat, too, in some ways. I mean, I love dogs. I love cats. But I think I can do a mind meld with a cat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I can't with a dog. Because dogs, by their very nature, are like... they're just too happy. I can't quite... I mean, they're too sweet. Cats, I get.
Me too.
And they can be sweet.
They want to be.
If they want to be. Completely relate. Completely relate. Okay, well, guys, I don't know what else it was I wanted to talk about. I had something here about the cost to your health of commuting. If you commute for any length of time a day, what that does to you physically and mentally. And of course, it's not good. A further reason to come on, move into the city. Come on, everybody. Come on in. It's the best place to be. Best place to be, without a doubt. Well, I think that is it. So try not to eat too much candy. That's all I can say to you. And I'm only saying it to you because I'm really projecting. I'm totally talking to myself. And I hope you have a wonderful Halloween. And I hope your house doesn't get soaped or you don't have toilet paper hanging in your trees. And I hope you'll join us tomorrow when Chris Potter, unless he's going to be sick, will join us. Okay? Toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.